Super Retro Force.
What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to talk about should you collect retro games in 2025.
Everything that happens now is happening now.
What happened to then?
We passed then.
When?
Just now.
A basic summary of what we're going to talk about is what to expect to pay, locations where to buy games, and how it's changing in the world, whether or not you should just go digital or not, and lastly, what consoles to even collect for. So, first off, I just want to thank you guys all for watching this video today, and thanks for your support. So with that being said, let's jump on over to what to expect to pay for prices. Here we go. So what I did is I pulled up the handy dandy price charting, which is pricecharting.com. It's a pretty good site for getting a rough estimate of what games are roughly going for. Specifically what sold items are on eBay. Sorry, as you can see here, these items are all sold on eBay, and this was the pricing. So what it does then is to take an average of those pricing and put it up here. So I chose the loose sold listing for this information just because that's a more common thing for retro gaming. We might change it here in the next two games, but I felt that searching for Mario specific games just for this little section is pretty good because it's more common, and I think you should give us a rough estimate because obviously those niche games or the more rare ones are obviously gonna go up in price more, but these ones will kind of stay around the kind of what they've been. So as you can see here, a loose copy of Super Mario Bros. 3 is currently going for around $17, which is a minus negative 30 cents. So if we can look over here, this is kind of your little nice fun little graph, and I love this. This is something I sometimes take when I get bored and just look at. But you can see here after 2020 when the COVID hit, the retro games obviously went up, but this one just seems to kind of level out since then. So that's kind of common. We're going to see a little bit more of that. So here is Super Mario Bros. 3. Let's jump on over to Super Mario World. So you can kind of see a similar response, about $17 loose. This one's actually gone up about 57 cents lately, but same factor. So in 2020, when COVID hit and retro games and stuff started becoming more popular, we kind of jumped right here. So we've been seeing a lot of the wave, guys, but we've been seeing it not be like just instantly just shoot up and not come back down. So did we maybe reach a point of where it's going to kind of just stay in this area? And we could, but as you can see, it just really depends on what's selling on eBay. But for the most part, we're jumping from 15 bucks. There was a little while here that was around 20, but then it kind of jumped back down to 15 again. And now let's jump a little bit more recent to the Wii U with Super Mario World 3D. This sells for let's just do a complete listing, just because you're probably more than likely going to find it case and disc. So a complete listing would go for about $12. And yeah, you can see it's just been a very average straight line across. I'm trying to think of a game off the top of my head that would be another good one to check out. So let's do a random one. One of my favorite games on the PS2 is Psyops. So let's go see what Psyops has been doing. We'll check out the PS2. So about the same. So about in 2021 or so, this kind of skyrocketed up, and we're getting in the good like 27 even range. But ever since about a year or so ago, it's kind of leveled back down to what it was prior to that big jump. So for my expertise, which is not much, it's not like I have a degree in business freaking stuff, what to expect to pay is, I think for the most part, the base games, the common games and stuff like that should level out. I don't necessarily see a big skyrocket in pricing, but like I said, it's hard to predict sometimes, especially like games like Piglet's Big Adventure on the PS2 has recently skyrocketed up in price. It's become kind of like a niche game to get, and I think a lot of times it's just trending because of YouTube and everything like that. So yes, YouTubers probably sometimes do reflect on costs, but other than that, I don't see a dramatic increase, and if anything, maybe prices will start going down a little more, especially since what we'll talk about later, The digital world is increasing, so there might just not be as much need for these games as much, so the price could go down. So the next bullet on our to talk about list is locations. Where should you buy games and how it's changing in the world? Or not necessarily where you should buy them, but where you can buy them. So there's always the good old-fashioned local hunting using Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, apps like that, or just simply going to your local pawn shops, thrift stores, and stuff like that to find games. That's never going to go away probably, but that's the most common, and it's really hit or miss for pricing for that stuff. I know for me, thrift stores have been really hard around this area. Everything's been kind of moving over to the using online to look for pricing, so they kind of either get market value or even above market value, so it's just not worth hunting there anymore. Now, that's not to say that there's not the occasional good deal, but I just kind of backed off from that kind of area. And then, of course, there's online websites. You got like Double Jump Games, DK Oldies, and a few others that are like that. GameStop. If you don't want to go for the local GameStop, you can do it online. But what they expect here is you're going to pay above average, probably above market pricing. But for the most part, some of them do offer some kind of warranty. Like DK Oldies, as much as I don't like their pricing and some of their business tactics, they do have a great warranty. If something should ever happen to a console or game, I think you have a year or so to be able to return it if it stops working. So kudos to them for something like that. But otherwise, I mean, like Double Jump Games and stuff, I've never personally ordered anything from them, but I follow them on YouTube, and they're a good company. I mean, you have to charge at a retail setting more than market price to pay for overhead. You got employees, bills, rent / mortgage or whatever on the building. So obviously you're going to have to charge a little bit more. So that's understandable. But I do know that they have a better reputation in some of those stores. So you could get, some people trust more buying from a store like that than, say, Joe Schmo on the internet. So with that being said, I would definitely go for some maybe the smaller shops. Like I said, Double Jump Games is a good one. Another place, obviously, is just the good old-fashioned auction sites. So we have eBay, Mercari. There's some new guys in the game, Whatnot, Encore, Goodies, are all simple store apps that you can use to shop online. I'm personally a big fan of Mercari, even though over the years I'm not really a big fan of buying on it anymore because there seems to be so many fees and taxes and stuff like that that it's just... It seems like it's better to sell on Mercari than it is to buy from Mercari, which is ridiculous if you ask me. But, I mean, there's the good old-fashioned eBay. It hasn't really changed much over the years, but we do have new auction apps like Whatnot and Encore, which is a new one. Now, these ones are more... They're just like eBay, but instead of just having a picture and an image and a small description, you can actually do live broadcasts showcasing the item while they're getting auctioned. So it's almost like being at an auction, but through your computer. So some people tell me you can find really good deals here. Some people tell me that with FOMO and stuff like that, you end up paying way more than you want to. So take that with a grain of salt and just be careful when getting on these apps because they can be addicting. Our next bullet will move from where to buy games to whether or not you should just go digital or not. So like I was talking earlier with pricing, why I think the pricing will either level out or might even go down for some games is because of what the Switch Online expansion that you can pay for the memberships and stuff like that. A lot of these games that were once super expensive are now available to get for paying simply I think $60 a year. So you can play Ocarina and other great N64 games, freaking Genesis games, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy. So you have all those options to play on your Switch. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. In fact, they keep adding more games. But I know some of you will say, well, that just means that the collectors, the physical media collectors, are willing to pay more for these games now. Which could be true, but I want to just let you guys know that I have noticed when I search for some of this stuff, those games that are available on there do not seem to go that much up in price, physical wise. They're still, in fact, gone down. I remember at one point, I felt like Ocarina and stuff was going for $60-$70, and then since that release, or it could just be the dip down from COVID finally, you can get Ocarina pretty cheap nowadays. I think like $25-$30 depending on where you look. But it's sometimes the market's crazy. The older stuff, it will go up in price, but sometimes too it'll dip off. So, but whether or not you should go digital or not is totally up to you. This is a very there's a big old crack in between whether or not you should do this or not. So we have people on one side that are gatekeepers that think you should strictly stick to physical media. They will torch your house if they find out you're digital only. I'm just kidding, but you guys know what I mean. I've seen the arguments on the internet all the time. Obviously, it's almost as bad as politics when it comes to some of this stuff. Then you got guys like me that are just in the middle where, yes, I love having physical media, I love having physical copies of stuff, but I also enjoy digital for the convenience of it, or because it might be too expensive to get physically. Old expensive games like Earthbound and stuff like that, I have it on my Super Nintendo Classic Mini. I love having that option, and it's, yes, in a digital form with save states and stuff like that, because I'm not really willing to pay $300 right now for a game that I might just, sit on a shelf. So I occasionally like to play Earthbound on that Classic, but I mean, it all comes down to, like I said, what people prefer. Do you want convenience sometimes over not convenient? Because I can tell you right now, I just picked up a Retron 5 for convenience sake because I was tired of swapping out cords, finding controllers, finding power supplies, going through my totes to make sure, to get everything set up for sometimes one game. Now with the convenience of this Retron 5, I know it's not digital, but it is somewhat kind of emulation. I am able to just slap a game in and get going on it. So, and that's the same thing with the Series X that I just bought. So I have a disc drive PS5, but I did pick up an all digital Series X, which was specific just going to be more of a exclusive console that I wanted, because there's games like Halo and stuff that I can't play on other consoles. And with Game Pass, most of that stuff is already on there. And then there's games that come out day one with Microsoft, like say Indiana Jones now is out. So I want to have that option. So like I said, it just depends. But as a reminder though, if you're going for newer games or new-ish games, physical media is probably the best way to go, because I always find that you can buy used games cheaper that way than buying, say, them on Xbox or PlayStation Network. I feel like that's still going to happen for a while now. I mean, you got games that have been out for a couple weeks. You still got to pay $70, on the store. But if you look at it, say buying it used somewhere else, you could save, anywhere from $15 to $20. So I think that's sometimes a better route. Let somebody else beat the game first, and then buy it used after they're finished with it. And lastly, what consoles do you even collect for? Now, this isn't just me telling you to specifically collect for this consoles because it's my favorite or anything like that, but just in general for pricing wise, if you're looking to get the most bang for your buck or build a collection fast, this is what I would recommend. So as of right now, I feel like N64 games have really dropped off. Now, a few years ago, I would have told you the exact opposite. It seemed like these N64 games were skyrocketing with, Mario 64 and stuff going in the 60s to 70s bucks. 60s, 70s bucks. But I also seen that, after that area had phased, GameCube games skyrocketed. So a few of the consoles that I would look into collecting right now would specifically be Xbox One, PS4, and I want to say Wii is still down there in price. So if you're looking for just kind of cheap games to fill some shelves, those are your best bets. I know that every time I go to my local game store, the PS4 games are really good priced. And if you're like me and you got a PS5, it is backwards compatible, so you can still play those games on your PS5 with your PS5 controller, or even if you want to get a little bit more OG with it, just get out the PS4 controller. But that's the same to say with Xbox One. And now, with the whole Xbox 360 store closing, I did notice that a lot of Xbox 360 prices did happen to go up. But Xbox One prices themselves, those base games and everything like that, have seemed to kind of dip down in price. So, and Wii games, there's just so much shovelware for it, I don't see a lot of those games really jumping. So that's why I recommend Wii, PS4, and Xbox One. But if you have a different suggestion for what consoles you should collect for, make sure you guys comment below so we can all talk about that, because I'd be interested to know what you guys are even all collecting for. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video about how collecting retro games in 2025 could be. It'll be interesting in a year from now to kind of come back and check out if any of these predictions were right. But like I said, make sure you guys comment down below what you guys thought about this. Do you agree with this? Do you not agree with it? And yeah, so that being with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, stay retro, my friends, and we will see you in the next video. God bless, guys.
Super Retro Force.